Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Top Flight Pod. You know what it is. You know what we're here to do. We're back in studio today. We're beautiful Austin, Texas. I got a special guest in here today. My G, Arch Bell. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Hernan. It is so great to be here.
How are you doing, Arch?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited. New year and a lot of stuff going on.
Definitely a lot of stuff going on. And I'm happy that we have somebody of your caliber in the studio today to talk about everything going on, because there's a lot of news coming out from various different sites and we don't know what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
And I think we have an expert opinion in here today in the studio to help us clarify what's going on and help us kind of get a better understanding of the situation with none other than Driussi. But of course, we're going to talk about Brandon Vázquez, what it means for a club like Austin FC to sign a player of his caliber. And of course, somebody like yourself with the experience that you've had around the world, we've got to talk about the massive Club World Cup that is coming up here soon.
For sure.
But also, I want to introduce B. How are you doing, mate?
I'm happy to be here. Appreciate you coming by, Arch. And excited.
Arch Manning?
People thought we were going to have
power rankings, man. I mean, he's about to be number one.
People thought we were
my position there.
Ozzy thought we were having Arch Manning.
Ozzy thought we were talking about Arch Manning. No, but as we're watching El Clásico here in the background, well, it's actually a bloodbath. I don't even know if it's a game. It's Barcelona 4-1. But no, quick shout out to everybody on our Patreon and on Discord. We got some questions here for Arch Bell that they had. They asked us to mention on the podcast, so we'll get to those here in a bit.
Nice.
But starting off with the Sebastian Driussi saga, I mean, if we could put a timeline on it, what do we know? Driussi was in Argentina for vacation this offseason. He was seen hugging Gallardo in the tunnel as he arrived for a big game. River, a lot of folks obviously attributed that to him showing support to Gallardo, who had just recently lost his father. Really, nobody thought nothing of it. After that, the rumors start to fly. Estudiantes was in the picture. River Plate has always been in the picture, but things got more serious. We have news from Argentina, from Tom Boger, from here, from there. But Arch, what are you thinking about the situation? How did you receive these initial reports about Driussi to River?
Yeah, I'm really not surprised, to be honest with you. I think Driussi, he always has expressed a desire to return to River. I remember interviewing him when he first arrived to Austin, and that's something that he said. I mean, that's what all these Argentinian players, they always want to go home. You know, the El Club de Mis Amores, you know, their boyhood club. And for Driussi, that's River. And so I always thought that he always had the idea of someday returning to River. And, you know, perhaps with the situation here at Austin FC, the last two seasons not being what maybe perhaps he was expecting or hoping, change of manager, what have you. But I think River Plate being in this Club World Cup is a very big factor in all of this. I think that's influencing a lot. Mm-hmm. And you've seen a lot of other big former River players returning to the club. Martinez Cuarta is one that immediately comes to mind. Enzo is back. So, I think I'm not surprised to see Driussi try to force his way out. Gallardo knows that, you know, he can pull him in. They won a Copa Libertadores together. So I'm not surprised to see it, and it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out and what ultimately happens. But Driussi forcing his way out, saying, "Hey, you got to sell me, sell me because I'm not coming back." I'm honestly not surprised that this is going down.
Now, we see Tom Boger here, Arch. He comes out with a tweet this morning, kind of, a shining light on everything going on because, myself, I try to keep up with the latest news on any player, on anything going on with Austin FC to inform the public at the best of our ability. But, one thing that has even been known for a long time is that sometimes the media, the reports that can be coming out from South America, it can't be trusted 100%. No. So that's why every time Tom Boger brings out a tweet, brings out a report, you got to pause. You got to take time about what you're doing. There's substance there, right? Sure. Thank you, Arch. And today in the morning, Tom Boger, he says, sources, Sebastian Driussi no shows mandatory medical to kick off Austin FC preseason as he tries to force a move to River Plate, as we're talking about here. Tom also says, ATX made clear to Driussi he won't leave unless acceptable bid comes and a replacement is ready. There's still no agreement with River Plate, he says. Now, Tom Boger also went on to quote tweet that, and he says, Sebastian Driussi did not have permission from Austin to miss the medical. As such, the club and league have begun disciplinary measures against Driussi in line with missing mandatory events. And to finalize, he says, Club stance is they will count on him for 2025 if no deal is reached. These are some pretty big words, pretty much saying Austin FC did not give him permission.
Right.
There was a report from Hernan Bryan saying that there was a mutual agreement that he was allowed to stay in Argentina. I'm believing Tom Bogert on this.
Yeah, I would believe Tom on this as well, and I think Austin FC are perfectly within their rights to do this and to say no, like he didn't have permission and he's not here and it's in violation of his contract. He's supposed to be here, and they're gonna dig in their heels as well. They should. I mean, this is their asset. This is their player.
100%.
He's under contract for the 2025 season, 100%. And he should be here. He doesn't want to be here, so something's gonna have to happen. Something's gonna have to be reached. And I think Austin are well within their rights to kind of play the waiting game here and say, look, you're supposed to be here. You're under contract. But if you want to get out, then River Plate's going to have to come to the table with a substantial offer, and they need to find a replacement.
Now, there's two ways that this can end up, of course, right? Let's say Sebastian Driussi does stay. Let's say Sebastian Driussi goes. I mean, how do you think that the fans are going to receive a Driussi back to Austin if this does not go through? Do you think that he can win them back?
I think it's going to be really hard. I think it would be very difficult for and I'm talking about like those, the diehard, the real, the fans who are in the know, Driussi winning them back. How do you do it? You win them back by winning, by scoring goals and winning. That's how you can win them back. But I don't know if we're ever going to get back to that point. I honestly, if you were to say, what's your gut feeling, what's going to happen, I think ultimately he does leave and he doesn't come back to Austin. That's just my gut feeling. And I mean, could he? Yes, he could. And he's like, okay, I have to fulfill my contract. But I think his desire to so badly return to River and to play like in a Club World Cup with River and to play for Gallardo, I think he's gonna, they're gonna make it. And River, I do want him back. You can tell that. But yeah, I think it would be very difficult for the Austin FC fans to just receive him, with open arms if he were to come back.
Now, in the Spanish podcast, Arch, we were talking about who is ahead of who in this deal, in this negotiation that is going on. And what I told the boys, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think Austin FC holds the cards in this situation.
Absolutely.
Because Tom Bogert reports that Austin FC, they're going to accept his departure if an acceptable bid is received. But there's a part two, if a replacement is ready.
Yeah.
Tom Bogert, we also go back. Tom Bogert had reported previously that Austin FC would look to add a third DP if Driussi did depart the club. But this is a two-part scenario where the fee has to be good enough.
Yes.
And there has to be somebody ready to go to join Austin FC so we can let you go.
Yeah.
Austin FC holds the cards.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Austin FC holds the cards, and I think they're in a very strong negotiating position. I don't think they should, yield too much space. I mean, River are the ones in the Club World Cup. River are the ones who want him. So, I mean, I'm a River Plate fan. I like River Plate. That's the club that we support in our house. My wife is Argentinian. And on a personal level, it would be great to see him playing for. I know we might have some Boca here in the room, but no, Austin FC, like this is their club. This is their organization. They hold the cards. They have the strong negotiating stance here, and they have every single right to like hold out for the best price and to try to get a good replacement player. Meanwhile, they've got players who reported yesterday who want to be here and who want to play for the club. And that's who you want in your dressing room. Guys who want to be here and who want to play, who are hungry to play. Driussi doesn't want to be here. I don't want a guy in my locker room who doesn't want to be here, who's just going to sit there and pound, be like, oh, I'd rather be playing Inter or in the Club World Cup right now, 100%. So, this might even produce like kind of like a galvanizing effect within that locker room to say, hey, he didn't want to come back to us. Like, we're gonna show, let's show him like what we're all about.
I agree.
That might be a byproduct of the fallout from this Driussi transfer.
One other conversation, Arch, that I'm seeing on social media is that, Driussi is the best player this club has ever had. He's the most talented player this club has ever seen by far. He's 50 goals. I mean, come on, right? This guy is unbelievable when he's down 100%. And folks, the question was, if he does stay, what does he have to do for the fan base to accept him? But I argue that this offense will be so major to the fan base that there's nothing he can do if he was to stay to try to earn their love, their appreciation back. I think this has to go through for everybody, because imagine imagine Austin FC keeps Sebastian Driussi, just like you mentioned, just like how you laid it out right now. The effect that can bring to the locker room can be disastrous at
toxic.
The beginning of your season.
Poisonous. Yeah, you don't want that, because this is a really important season for the Ofo Borrell.
100%.
You know, this transfer coming off this transfer window and everything, this is now his team, right? From the sporting director perspective. And you've got not a first-year head coach, but a new head coach. You got to start off on the right foot, right? And a pie derecho. You want a strong start from Nico. And the last thing that you need is, a big-time transfer saga. So the sooner they can get this resolved, the better. But yeah, like with Driussi coming back, the distractions are going to be there. The questions are always going to be there. Is he fully bought in? You're going to be getting that every single week, every single match. If he has a poor performance, like, what's up with Driussi? What's going on in that head of his? Does he really want to be here? And then he starts to get jeered and whistled by maybe some of the home fans or booed or whatever. It's just, I don't think that's the right environment in which this team should be approaching a 2025 season, especially after 2 years of suboptimal performances. This is a really important year for Austin FC.
100%.
They need to be strong.
That's the one thing that they have in their hands. It's that.
River?
Yeah.
They have that in their favor?
Yeah, that's the one thing that they have. Other than that, it's all on ours.
Just like I told Alex, I told Ozzy as well, what brings me calmness, what makes me kind of settle in and have confidence that the club is going to end up on top of all this is the fact that Rodo Borrell is at the helm of these negotiations. Yep. This is not a situation that he's new to. I'm sure he's played this game 100 times already, and he's past this level already. So I'm just, to me, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And I just want the money in full 100%. If possible, give it to us in one payment. If it has to be installments, let it be 7 and then 2 million as time goes by.
But you need to get your money for a
100%.
player of that caliber. Now he hasn't performed the last 2 seasons, so his value coming off the 2022 season couldn't have been higher. But now after 23 and 24, not his best seasons, he didn't perform. Let's just be honest about that.
So how do you predict this kind of going the next couple of days? When do you think it'll be wrapped up? You're somebody that's been in this game for a long time. This situation, we've seen it, and it's not the last time we're going to see it. A player trying to push a move out and the other team trying to help him out, right? So how much longer do you think this saga is going to go on?
I think it's going to go. I think it'll be pretty decently into preseason. We'll see. I think we'll see this kind of drift maybe even into February. I think it's going to be, because again, Austin FC, they want to get a player in? Yes, who can replace Driussi, but I think they'll be patient on this. And sometimes when you're negotiating, if you've ever bought a house or whatever, patience is key. And River's the one feeling the pain. River start their season very, very soon. And they want to be able to come to the table with a really strong team for not only their domestic campaign, but the Club World Cup. So all these things factor into their decision-making. So I think Austin, as you say, hold the cards. And I think we're still a couple weeks out from this being resolved.
Is this a hot take to say, if the Club World Cup wasn't there, you think they would be pushing this hard for him?
No,
absolutely. I agree. I don't think that they would.
And I think they would have got him before.
They wouldn't even have the idea of 9 to them.
There might have been a push. I think what perhaps maybe some fans in this part of the world in the U.S. or what have you, these Club World Cups / the old school Intercontinental Cups, those have always been enormously important games, especially to South American clubs.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
The 2000 Intercontinental Cup between Real Madrid and Boca Juniors is still talked about constantly by Boca fans. Every year when it comes around, anniversary videos, and Riquelme just absolutely bossed that game. Palermo scores 2 goals. Riquelme is like a magician on the field, runs Real Madrid ragged. Those games are iconic triumphs for those South American teams against European clubs. Yeah. And so these Club World Cup games, Intercontinental Cup, the old school Intercontinental Cup, those, it means so much to those South American clubs. So that's why I think they are all making such a huge push for this summer. Also knowing that this tournament is coming at the very end of the European season, there's going to be a lot of fatigue among all the top European clubs. So there's really they see it as an opportunity. There's a window there where like, hey, we could make a deep run into like a semifinals, something like that. You better believe that. Like the Flamengos, the Palmeiras, River Boca, Botafogo, they're all, and especially after the egg that Botafogo laid in the Intercontinental Cup, because they were insanely jet lagged and exhausted from Libertadores and Brazilian League. So like they're all like this is an enormous opportunity to not only like do something transcendent, but also market their brand in the United States.
And I think
that's what Rodo has, and that's what Rodo Borrell has.
Exactly. So I think on top of everything I think this deal is just a matter of time, like y'all said.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah,
now,
so I think Austin they're good to wait. Be like, make me an offer I can't refuse.
The first offer was reportedly denied. The second offer is, they're saying that it's on its way, or they're preparing it.
Yeah.
They're going to offer maybe $9 million for 100% of his rights. Is what the most recent report coming out.
Make the offer. Like it's if you want him, make the offer. And like they were good to reject the first offer. Don't never take the first offer.
Hey, and if Driussi wants to leave that bad, then pay the difference maybe.
Yeah.
If you want to leave that bad, then
or find a third party, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Some form of investors, because that's what Estudiantes de La Plata had in their pocket when they were supposedly negotiating for Driussi. They had some people investing in the club that was backing him.
But I wouldn't anticipate that. It really has to be.
Yeah.
It would his connection to River, Boyhood Club World Cup.
And he's been saying about how one day he wants to go back for every single year.
He said when he was 27, he wanted to do it. He's 29 now.
Every year he's been here, the offseason, River rumor.
Rumor.
This
Always.
one finally is now.
This is
legit.
real.
Yeah.
This is real.
Yeah,
This
and I mean
real,
it's the way with like every single Argentinian player. Like I mean, in like all the top leagues in Europe. I mean, it's always like, when are you going to go back to
Boca?
Agüero, when are you going to go back to Independiente? Diego Milito, when he was at Inter, when are you going to go back to Racing?
Chicharito, back to Chivas.
Yeah,
Messi back to Newell's, which would just be incredible. I don't think that's ever going to happen, but I would love for that to happen someday. I don't think it's going to happen.
Is it the reason why it won't happen because of just the facilities and just how? Like, are they not? They can't handle that, right?
No, I don't think. I honestly don't think the Argentinian league and like I just don't think that they could handle Messi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can't.
I mean, could you see
time would freeze, time would break.
Messi showing up to like Defensa y Justicia. It's like there's like 10,000 people in that stadium. I just don't see that. Yeah. It was like when Suarez went back to he was at Nacional, and he was playing in some of the really small stadiums there in Uruguay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cool, but that's Suarez. Like Messi is that's a different dimension.
Maybe in his last year.
Maybe like a Last Dance documentary kind of thing by Netflix or by Apple.
Like after World Cup 26 or maybe right before. I don't know.
Or they could even do like a special 6 games for Messi where he's gonna play as a Newell's player against select teams, and I don't know,
something like that. I mean, it would be awesome to see him play.
But they always want to go back as a point.
Always want to El Club de Mis Amores. That's what they always talk about.
I think Aaron was telling us that Luchi Acosta is pulling a similar maneuver.
Luchi Acosta is doing it the same to Cincy.
Cincy, he's not reporting to training over there too. So
and he grew up in Boca.
And our potential supposedly replacement to Driussi.
He could be, and that's what I want to talk about here next is. What is the next step for Austin FC? Because, of course, we're hearing this conversation about the possible third DP that we want to add this winter. Mm-hmm. Time is running out. But there's a name that's being involved with Austin FC, Mirto Uzuni.
Yeah.
He's playing the second division with Granada.
Spain,
killing it over there. Now, I identified him more as a center forward, but shout out to Alex, Football Critic. He educated him. He said, no, he can play on the left, on the right.
Yeah, he's a winger.
And in the middle,
he can play center forward. But I think he's most comfortable on the left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he's most comfortable on his left. The left is his principal position.
Yeah.
I had him more located in the center, but Alex told me, no.
Yeah.
He's a left winger. I was like, okay, well, this changes the way that I'm perceiving this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it's very interesting, Arch, because it seems like Uzuni is pulling a Driussi with Granada.
Yeah.
We're seeing both sides of it. He wants out.
Yes.
We're offering this amount of money. He's pushing out. But there's fans at Granada. I saw a recent video of Uzuni watching the game. He came out of his private suite.
Yeah.
He comes out, takes photos with the fans, and they're cheering. Usuni quédate. Usuni quédate. They want him
yeah.
to stay.
Yeah.
They want him to stay. Now, that's not what Driussi experiencing right now. If you look at the comments on social media, it's a whole different discourse.
That's a
different story. But it's very interesting to me, Arch, and I want to get your thoughts on Usuni as a possible replacement, but more importantly, the situation that he's going through in Granada, how similar it is to the one we're going through with Driussi here.
Very similar. And I really have to respect what the coach did. I saw his press conference this week, and he was asked about it, and he just basically said, he's like, it's really no problem at all. He told me that he doesn't want to train, that he's not in condition to train, so he's not going to train, and we just move on. And so very cut and dry there. They're like, Granada's like, okay, if you say that you're not going to train, then no cuento contigo. No, I'm not going to be counting on you.
And also real quick, when we had posted the initial reports, the graphics about Usuni possibly being linked to Austin FC, the interest was there and whatnot. Folks came out and criticized just because they read second division first. They rate second division player. Give us your opinion on Usuni, not necessarily Usuni, but just Granada, the second division of Spain.
Spanish second division is quality.
It's no joke.
I mean, listen, La Liga. I know the Premier League is the most popular league, for out of all the European leagues. For a lot of people in the United States, but if for people who watch La Liga, and I know everybody watches Madrid and Barcelona, Atletico, whatever. Like I was watching Valladolid Betis yesterday. There's so much quality in Spanish football, and that filters down to the second division as well.
100%.
You really get some very good teams.
Granada is also one of those clubs that's been in the top flight.
Yeah, they're a boomerang club.
They
go up and down. They go up and down.
So they go through spells where they're good.
Yeah.
I remember seeing
Cucho Hernandez played
exactly.
He was at Granada there for a while.
Somebody just mentioned that to me, how he was in the second division bubble.
There's good. I mean, what was it? I remember when David Silva was at Eibar playing in second division in Spain, and David Silva ended up winning a World Cup with Spain, and starred at Manchester City. There are good players in the Spanish second division, and to just I think it's better than the French second division.
100%.
I think you could maybe make the argument it's maybe even better than the English Championship.
The Championship? This guy over here is gonna.
I mean, but the Spanish football and English football is so competitive with each other.
Yeah.
But Spanish second division, I think not only can you get good quality, but you could find good bargains
100%
over there as well. And that's Rodolfo Borrell. What does he like to do?
If you were to make a list, if you were to make a list of the top 15 leagues in Europe, I think second division Spain and the Championship are up in the. They're up there.
They're definitely up there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really tough.
And Diego Rubio talked about the
Spanish league.
The Spanish league.
Diego Rubio was telling us that it was one of the most competitive experience in his life he's ever been through.
I mean, it's hard, and again, when you watch some of these teams that are in the bottom half of La Liga, 10 through 20, it's like there's still some really, really good players here, national team players across the board. So really quality footballers. I mean, so many footballers who are young and then who end up moving to bigger clubs and stuff. So I would never discount anybody playing in the Spanish second.
Kind of going back to what B said earlier about the hot take. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but there are teams in the Championship and in La Liga second division that will mop the floor with MLS teams.
Oh,
is that a hot take?
Yes, I think so. I think
most
most of No, it's not. I think that you're right in saying that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you would have to pair them up
the third
against
place team in the Spanish second division. I would say they could be
they're tough.
Any top MLS team.
Yeah, I think both of those leagues they've compared them before. I've seen that argument where the Championship is on MLS level and maybe even underneath it, but that's a whole other conversation, whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole other debate. But it'll be curious to see what transpires with Usuni and if he ends up coming here. He wants to be here.
Yeah,
that's another thing. Yeah, we're looking at his numbers there, 14 goals and 18 appearances. That's pretty good. He wants to be here. He's really keen on coming to the U.S. So
he's doing what Driussi's doing to come here.
One thing that I read,
he's a national team player with Albania. So
one thing that I read is that he's in a contract standoff, just like Driussi's not necessarily in a contract standoff. He's in a transfer standoff. But this guy, the thing about why maybe he's so keen on coming to Austin FC, I'm talking about Usuni, is that Austin FC would double his salary. Yeah. And he's after an improved contract. Yeah. He knows what
guaranteed.
He can... And guaranteed.
Guaranteed money. That's another thing. Some of these clubs that operate, especially second division level, sometimes they don't have the money to pay their players. I mean, a friend of mine played for Rayo Vallecano when they're in the second division, and he went months without getting paid sometimes. It's crazy. So you get financial stability as well. Guaranteed contract, like, don't minimize that. That's an important thing.
Yeah.
That's
I
true.
mean, that happens a lot in South America as well.
I know he is a national team player for Albania, like you said, but I mean, towards the end of his career, with if he's still in MLS, he can think about getting the green card. A lot of players take advantage of being in MLS.
And 29, like, so he's
status.
Experienced. You know, he's still got some good seasons behind him.
Even in this situation, Austin FC has a better hand in it, and this as well. Like, so.
Yeah, I think if you bring in a player like that, I've never watched him. I mean, I can't remember the last time I actually watched Granada, but all the data points suggest that it would be, you could have a really good footballer on your hands here.
Would you like him as a replacement for Driussi in 2025, Usuni? Based off numbers and
position-wise, it's a little bit different because, Driussi, you more of like your traditional 10, I guess you could say. So from a position-wise, but if you're just thinking about like, okay, we got to make up numbers here, and again, Driussi didn't produce really the numbers that you needed last year. So I think from a numbers perspective, it sounds like you might be able to get more goals out of Uzuni. And so, you also
have Brandon Vázquez.
And you have Brandon Vázquez.
This is great.
Which is
I think this
massive.
Is great.
There's some really interesting pieces there. And I know, listen, Driussi is like, he was the first kind of big star that this team has had. And people latch onto him, and like he's probably the best-selling jersey.
He became Fagundes.
But like Driussi, he was so close to being MVP in 2022 and everything that he did. And I know that's an important link. That's a connection that's now, that runs deep, I think, for a lot of fans. But, sometimes you got to let go. And you have to think about winning, and what Austin FC has not done the last 2 years is win. And
100%.
let's think about winning. And if this guy gives you a better chance of winning, and he wants to be here, then I would look to bring him in. Football wise, it's not an exact replacement, but if you think you can have a much more dynamic attack with him, then yes.
I want to ask you something about Nico Estevez and what it would mean for him if he loses Driussi, to his game plan mainly, and maybe with the addition of Mirto. Do you think that Nico Estevez is probably already thinking about, I'm going to have to change my whole gameplay, my whole maybe style? We've seen in Dallas when he had injuries, he had to change the way that he played, the way that he went out. I mean, I'm sure he had a plan going into this offseason on how he wanted to prepare his players. This shake things up just a bit. But how do you think Nico Estevez as a coach is going to handle losing Driussi and possibly adding Usuni, which we talked about him as a winger. He could play in the center, also left or right. But game plan wise, how do you think Nico is going to handle this?
Yeah, I think he'll handle it fine. I mean, he's an experienced coach, not only from his time in Dallas, but on different staffs, his background and everything, national team stuff. So I think these coaches they know these are things that are out of his control. And I mean, probably in Nico's head, he's like, I have to approach the season with knowing that Sebastian Driussi is not going to be here. I have to, work under those conditions right now. And so I think he'll be fine, and he'll be able to effectively plan and approach for this season, even with no Driussi. So I think an experienced coach like that, a guy who knows his football, he'll be flexible enough. He can do it.
Now, best case scenario for Austin FC. Driussi goes to River. They get their $9 million. They sign Usuni. On transfer market, he's at $5 million. I know it's kind of like a transfer fee battle with them too between Austin FC.
Yeah.
But imagine letting go of Driussi. You find a replacement, and you still profit a little bit off of the initial signing of Sebastian Driussi.
And then you already have Brandon Vázquez already in the door. And you have some money there, you have some flexibility, and you've shed some money as well from from some other players.
You got international spots too if you want to.
International spots and the U22s to fill.
Right, exactly. So you have some roster and cap flexibility there, which is what Rodolfo Borrell has been working toward ever since he arrived here, because there was some.
Just like you said, this is this first true season.
Right. And some of those contracts, man, were anchers. And it's like, oh man, you got to get that thing off the books.
Yeah.
So,
and
he did. And now they're here. And so now it's like, okay, this is why we're paying you to be the sporting director that you are. This is
I told that age
where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
And this is his coach. These are his players. So you want to see you'd like to see like some improvement here. And
100%.
like right now, being able to bring in like a player like Vazquez, if you bring in Uzuni, if you sell Driussi, like, you know, I think you can go into 2025 feeling a lot better.
I'm not going to name anybody, but on Instagram, I had a DM back and forth with an Austin FC fan. They were very stressed about the situation with Driussi, and I was like, calma. As long as we get our money and we get somebody to replace Driussi, everything is going to be okay.
Yeah, and again, I understand the affinity for Driussi, for what he did, and kind of put Austin on the map there in that 2022 season, and like he got so much hype and national articles and stuff about him.
He became the face of this club.
Yeah, MVP runner-up, all that stuff, and like, you know, and people, you know, that's a strong connection, but. I mean, this is sports, man.
It's sports.
You gotta be able to move on. You know, it's not family. It's not. I know, like, you know, Diego Fagundes. I know is like feels like family, but sometimes like these decisions are made, and you have to move on.
Now, we're talking about the face how Driussi was that at the club. I want to talk about the next guy up, Brandon Vázquez.
Yeah.
Number 9, designated player, Mexican American, U.S. national team striker.
Yeah.
He checks a lot of boxes for this area, for this region, for the fan base. He excites a lot of fans. There's optimism. They're ready to scream out their lungs when he scores his first couple of goals at Q2 Stadium. How did you take the Brandon Vázquez news? I mean, there was reports coming out that he was possibly a free agent. Tom Bogert came out. Again, Tom Bogert, shout out. He comes out and he says, no, there's no way there's going to be a free agent exit. There's going to be a fee he had to pay to Rayados. At the end of the day, we see that it's $10 million.
It's a lot.
Record-breaking transfer fee. Osman Bocari had just been the record signing couple months before that. We're now at the doorstep of Brandon Vázquez joining Austin FC. He signs the thing. They present him to the city. They present him to the media and everybody. Rodo Borrell shed some tears at the press conference.
Yeah, he got very emotional, didn't he?
What a roller coaster it's been for Austin FC fans. But Brandon Vázquez, how did you see this news?
I think it's great for Austin FC. I think has Austin FC really had a top flight striker? No. Like this is the first kind of alpha dog at the 9 that you really ever had. You know, I mean, Gyasi Zardes, you're maybe hoping he could be that guy or whatever, but I mean, this guy is pure goal scorer. And, you know, I know he had some up and down moments at Monterrey, but like when he first got to Rayados, he really produced. Mm-hmm. And with Cincinnati, he was terrific. I mean, this guy is really, I mean, just quality striker, physical, great in the air. I think. I mean, you know, his ability to head, I think, is excellent. I think going to Mexico and playing at a club like Monterrey, where there's a lot of pressure, I think has been really good for him, and I think he's going to flourish here in Austin. I think he's going to be very motivated to perform. Because of, you know, some of the detractors and like, well, you're going back to MLS and you're not going to be on the national team radar. Well, no, like he's going to be extremely motivated to bag some goals and to get back into the national team fold, and especially with 2026 on the horizon. So I think it's a great move for Austin FC. I think it's the best forward that they've ever had, and I do expect him to produce. His work rate is great.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy who's going to bust his tail, and I think his finishing is excellent. I like watching him play a lot.
Now, one of the big talking points, Arch, was the final fee that was paid for him, the $10 million. We had talked about him.
Striker, man, you got to do it.
Record-breaking.
You got to do it.
Do you think it was steep, overpaid,
I mean, it's, you know, if you could have gotten him for 9.5, fine. I think people see 10, they see double digits, and they kind of like... I mean, considering what Atlanta seemed to pay for players, which is like usually between 15 and 18 million.
Yeah,
listen, true. the guy is a proven goal scorer. Yeah. And what has Austin FC lacked in the last 2 years, especially last year? Goals, man. You got to go get goals. And if he can produce what we saw from him in Monterrey, especially in the first half of his tenure there, and then especially at Cincinnati in that, what was it, the 23 season or whenever that was, 22-23? I mean, you go get a player like that. It's worth it. You need goals to win games.
That's true. Josh Wool famously says, goals change games. Goals change games. Tattoo that on my chest.
He said that all the time. And of course, Josh, to his credit, he did score a lot of big goals at club level and international level.
Now, Vázquez, I want to get into the U.S. national team topic because that's obviously been a hot take topic. A quote here that he gave Alex. at the press conference, one of the quotes that I wanted to bring up on the pod, he says, I want to help Austin get to playoffs. I want to help them win and make history here. If I make the MLS All-Stars, that would be amazing, of course. I'm working every single day to make the World Cup roster. That's on the back of my mind, too. Every day is an opportunity to get better, to improve, and to earn myself a position. Now, he also said in that press conference that he's been in communication with Poch.
Yep.
He's talked to Poch, and he said that he knew about the move. Nico was conversating with them as well, and that Poch communicated to him that as long as he's banging in goals, he will be on that list. So why is there such conversation around him coming to Austin? His U.S. national team days are over. Why is that such a loud noise right now?
I think there's been like this eternal debate among U.S. national team fans and MLS fans, these circles about, well, you have to flourish in Europe to be a national team player, or you have to be able to test yourself and to then prove your worth to the national team. And like if you're playing in Serie A, then and you're doing well there, like that's great. That's better than MLS. I understand that. I think when it comes to strikers, though, you're kind of dealing with a different animal. And I mean, you could have like confident strikers who play in the Bundesliga or in the Premier League, but maybe if they come to the national team setup or they're playing in CONCACAF and it just doesn't come for them. No, you need goals at the national team level. You need goals. You need guys who are confident. And listen, Bob Bradley took your friend Herculez Gomez, our friend Herculez Gomez. Herc was not even close to the national team radar for South Africa 2010. Herc goes to Puebla. He ends up being the Golden Boot, shares the Golden Boot for the whatever that was, the 2010 Clausura. And then he ends up he's on the plane to South Africa. You want guys who, wherever they're playing, as long as it's at a decent enough level, if we, you don't want like, an indoor here in Austin or, it needs to be like a decent enough level, a professional level, right? But if a guy like Brandon Vázquez, who knows what it's like to play in the national team, who has been in an official match, who played in a Gold Cup for the U.S. in 2023, and who's played in CONCACAF Champions League, who's played in international tournaments and proven has scored goals at that level. Mm-hmm. Man, I don't care if it's at Austin or if he was doing it at in the English Championship or Bundesliga or Holland, as long as he's scoring and so I think when it comes to strikers, it's a different animal. And you want strikers in good form, always.
The thing about the number 9 is that they're judged so harshly on goals.
Right.
Goals are goals, bro.
Right.
Goals are goals, like you mentioned. As long as you're not playing indoor somewhere, if he's banging them in, just like Poch told him, he's going to be considered.
My father-in-law, God rest his soul, Argentinian, he would scream. He was a diehard Boca fan. He would scream, even though our family's River. Long story.
I was like, yeah, hold on.
He would scream at the TV at Martín Palermo. Scream at it. Palermo, and just dog cuss him in Argentinian Spanish. But Palermo was like your typical number 9. Not that creative, but the guy knew how to get in positions to score goals. That's what he did.
Yeah.
And that's just what you require to win this game.
Essentially, that's what he's getting paid to do.
That's what you get paid to do.
So it can work in
you're not getting paid to be an enganche and be creative and, you're not being paid to be Riquelme. No, you're being paid to get that ball from Riquelme to score the goals.
100%.
Now, that's why you said it's a different animal. I mean, you have a creative player. A creative player that plays in the competitive league is amazing. You would judge him based on the league. Right. If he's a creative player, dish out assists.
But a striker, if I'm looking at strikers, I mean,
numbers.
Like guys like old school guys like Eric Winalda, man. Like he was. When he was a great goal scorer.
I heard about that guy. I heard about Eric.
Yeah, I mean, just and some of these guys, they play in the U.S. or whatever. I mean, you just want guys in good form, who are banging in goals. Dempsey on that 2014 World Cup team, he was at the time. I think he'd come back to Seattle by then. And he had a great World Cup in 2014. You just want guys who are confident.
You could look at Jesus Ferreira when he was banging them in for Dallas. Yep. He was getting looks at the U.S. men's.
Yeah, he started the round of 16 game against the Netherlands. Now he didn't do so hot, but
there you go. That's the point.
It got him on the team, and Pochettino's a smart guy. He's an experienced manager. I mean, this is a guy who's on the touchline at PSG, Chelsea. He knows what he's doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think U.S. fans can trust in that, and I think that's another important factor is experience, and he's not going to be, swindled, I guess you could say.
His name carries weight,
Exactly. Now, obviously, if he's banging in the goals for Austin FC, just like Poch said, he's going to be in that roster.
But
I want to ask the pod here today, like, what are our expectations for Brandon Vázquez? Like, what do you think is going to be a good season for him? Like, how many goals realistically can we expect Brandon Vázquez to provide for the club this season? Maybe like a expectation or like a goal for him.
I think the floor has to be 15.
Yeah.
Floor.
I said that number too, 15.
Floor. Now, 20. Then you can feel really good about things.
20 goal contributions. I'll take that. 15 goals, maybe 5 assists. I'll take 20.
I mean, and
that'd be amazing. That'd be great.
But I think when you got to look at 15. Yeah. You got to look. 100%. That's kind of like because what do you have? You have it's a 34 game season. Yes, 34 game season. So I think 15 goals, and I think for what they paid for and the quality of player that he is, that should be a realistic expectation.
Now, circling back to the fee question that I asked you, I had Diego Valencia. He told me, he was like, well, you keep asking me about the fee. You keep asking me if Austin paid too much. And he says, he really flipped it on me. He says, what if at the end of the season, Brandon Vázquez delivers 20 goals? I'm going to ask you, was $10 million worth it? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. That question is better to come back to it at the end of the 2025 season to see what Brandon Vázquez provided to the team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think that's totally fair. And I mean, strikers, like you're gonna have to pay. There might be those prices for a quality striker. They're always going to be a little inflated. They just are. Well, and probably defenders are a little less than maybe they should be, but that's just how it works in this game.
Now we'll see how Osman Bukhari obviously adjusts with Brandon Vázquez now, Hector Bryan. They're going to have to change their delivery maybe just a little bit, but it's going to be exciting, just like you said.
It's going to be very exciting to see how that plays out. Like, and that's I'm going to be really intrigued by this preseason, kind of see the early makings of these guys, how they're going to be working with each other. And
last thing you want is the Driussi Saga right now.
No, and that's exactly it. You don't want that distraction, because the guys who are there at St. David's right now, they've shown up and they're ready to roll. And so many of these guys who were on the team last year, they're going to be so motivated to bounce back. I mean, last year was a dud. It was so bad. What a disappointing season. And really, the last 2 years have been very disappointing. And Austin FC's kind of, become, I don't want to say a forgotten team, but just, they're definitely faded from the MLS landscape.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody talks about them. Nobody thinks about them. Nobody really wants to watch them outside of Austin FC fans.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in the city itself, we had the record, biggest event in Austin. It was nowhere near talked about.
Nowhere near on the billboards when it was the F1, Austin versus Georgia. I mean, UT versus Georgia.
I mean, such an afterthought, right?
Yeah, it's
a whole stadium.
Like these guys, they want to be able to send a message to the city, like, hey, we're still here, and we're back playing really nice football. So I think there's a lot of motivation in that locker room going into this season too, and especially with a new coach.
What's good? That's what I was going to bring up. What's good about Nico is that it's not like we know a Nico system or a Nico, this is how Nico's going to play. Like, he has made it very clear that he'll work with what he has. Mm-hmm. I think that's why it's not really such a big issue. If Driussi comes in, great. If he's not, it's all right. We'll make this
and
squad
MLS
work.
is also a league where guys kind of come and go even in the middle of the season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Driussi came in the middle of the season.
Yeah, he did.
So,
so did Rigoni, so did Bukhari.
I mean, coaches know, it can be, MLS is, it's all very fluid.
Yeah. It's a very new league, too. It's a very young league. Yeah. It's still being built to this day.
It's still, think about it. Like, when the league, it started in 1996, that was the first year.
Yeah, I'm older than the league.
Yeah, the league just became, old enough to drink, right? It's still shaping its life. Yeah. Right?
That's true. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the players that are in the locker room. We're getting to that conversation. We mentioned how the players that are there want to perform for the fan base. They want to bounce back after such a dud 2023 and even 2024. Obviously we talked about Driussi. He's not in the photos. He's not in the videos. That was the first sign of everything that was to occur the next couple of days leading up to today. We see some new numbers for the players. Diego Rubio leaves the 14, takes 21. Svatok has a new number. He's number 5. Ilie Sanchez, new player for Austin FC, picks up the number 6. We see him wearing that around.
Assuming he stays healthy, I think that's going to be really nice.
What are your thoughts on him, Ilie Sanchez?
I like him a lot. I think the biggest thing is just health. He's older. Mm-hmm. God, he was so good with Sporting Kansas City. They played at such a high
good with
level.
LAFC.
And so good with LAFC. So you're talking about just like a linchpin in the middle of the field. You know, and maybe we see Danny play a little bit more, you know,
More on offense.
yeah. So I'll be curious to see how that relationship unfolds on the field. But I think it's a really nice signing, good for the locker room. It's a really good addition. If you're an Austin FC fan, you just hope that he stays healthy.
He's the only LAFC player that the club has ever.
He's the first.
He's the first one since the Western Conference final. So I'm wondering if there's a little bit of banter there, you know, between the Austin FC players.
Maybe.
And Ilie.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think he's such a respected player
Yeah.
in the league that, you know, people. He'll be. I'm sure he's.
Plus, we had a
he'll be welcomed.
one-off, maybe competitive year where if we would have stayed competitive with LAFC, maybe it'd be different.
Yeah,
That
maybe
year?
a little bit. Like it was really just like
It
that
was
one
just
year.
that 1 year, at that one moment.
I mean, I know there have been a couple scraps and stuff, but
We had their number that year, though. We beat them
I know.
twice in the regular
I
season,
know.
but they won the one that
I
mattered.
know,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
still,
that's
it's
true.
not
They won the one
enough.
that
It's
mattered.
not enough.
At the end of the day, that's the game that matters. If you win the other two, whatever.
that's true.
I mean,
Doesn't
we've
matter.
had players that come from Dallas, you know. So
True, but we've okay. I
And
see what you're
Dallas,
saying. I see what you're
I
saying.
would say Dallas is much more of a rivalry.
We have their coach.
We have their coach, exactly. So your question on the
nothing
LA,
there.
I don't think.
Okay. No, but it's good to see them come back. Also, we learned today in the morning the club released a video where Miko Dessler won the fitness test.
Yeah, he won the beep test.
He won the
yeah.
fitness test. It makes me so happy because, I mean, he's one of the
Dessler.
new players.
Yeah,
and it sets the tone.
Yeah, that's why it's exciting, right? Because all these guys who were kind of brought in mid-year and you know that you kind of got to know a little bit last year, but did you really get a chance to see them at their best? Now, new coach, a full preseason. I mean, I would think that you're going to see improvement from all of them across the board.
And like you said, like I told H2 a couple pods back, is like this season is the first season where I'm going to look at this team and actually take Rodo and see what he has built. I think this is his first judgeable
This is a
season.
Rodo team now.
Yes, I think this is the first time you could actually.
The Reina, the remains of Claudio Reina.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still. I mean, Stuver and whatever, but. Now this
is his team.
has Rodolfo Borrell's fingerprints all over it.
Another question for you, Arch. This guy on screen, Osman Bukhari, flown a little bit under the radar recently, but we have to talk about. Yes, he arrived at the club mid-season, right in the summer. Didn't really have enough time. We saw a little bit of his magic against Nashville with his speed. He got that goal, but he's flown under the radar. $7 million for Osman Bukhari. I mean, what are your thoughts on him and what he needs to do in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I think he needs to show us his ability to break down defenders 1v1. I mean, that's really where the rubber is going to meet the road with him, and you need to see that playmaking, that game-breaking ability, you know, desequilibrante, right? That's what you want to see from him in 2025, and just being able to stretch those defenses. So, shows up in the middle of the year. I think was it the Charlotte game? The home game was his debut.
Yeah,
so,
he came in as a sub. Yep.
You know, a little weird there. You know, to come in mid-season like that and everything, and to a team that was, you know, it's at the end of Josh's tenure, and I mean, not the best vibes around. So, he seems like he's all in on Austin FC and wants to do well. So, I think my expectation is that you'll see him in good form to start the season.
You see what I mean, though, when I say that he's kind of flown under the radar.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
Not talked about at all.
Not talked about at all.
Everything is under the radar of this Driussi stuff.
This Driussi situation trumps everything.
Which I think is perfect for the guys that are here.
Yeah.
I mean, because they're going to be you know, out there to work, and you know, I mean, there's probably a little bit when you've got like your supposed star, like, I don't want to go back there. Well, screw you. We're going to show you how good we are.
Yeah. And, you know, talking about the locker room, starting preseason, the medical test, Miko Dessler, how he won the fitness challenge. John Gallagher, though, he didn't take part in this one because he's like the 4-time reigning champ. So the club was like, dude, we know you're fit. Yeah. They're like, you know what, dude, we know you're fit. Hang out in the back. Drink of water. Do you, Gallagher? But anyways, shout out to Miko Dessler. The preseason games, though, Austin FC announced the full schedule. The New England Revolution will be the January 21st game. That's the first one. Charleston Battery, January 24th. Vigo Ortiz. That's going to be very interesting. He's with them. Louisville, our favorite preseason opponent.
Yeah,
Louisville City. Always. We have the Galaxy. This is the start of Coachella.
Yeah.
Then we have the St. Louis team,
Hey.
which was a substitution for SKC.
That's right.
After the home opener was revealed and whatnot. And then Charlotte behind closed doors. Interesting detail there. And then the Nashville one that was added there to the very end. Pretty much the Nashville, in my opinion, is like the New York City one last season, where it was like a test for the cameras, the audio.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a dress rehearsal before the big party.
I mean, exactly it. Like you're not going to reveal too much, but you want to see your guys get a little bit of a longer run out.
Regular preseason, though. Regular.
I mean, very standard preseason here. You know, the just number one thing that you're looking for in this preseason is just that everybody's health stays intact. You don't want any injuries in preseason because then, I mean, God, that's just that can just be the worst when somebody gets a nick in preseason and then next thing you know, like you get to May and it's like, why hasn't this guy played yet? Like, oh, you got like he hurt his foot in preseason. So stay healthy. You know, work on your tactics, work on the things that you're doing. And then, you know, hopefully during this preseason, you know, especially before that Nashville finale, that, you know, this Driussi thing, this saga is resolved.
It's true. That's true. Now, another topic here, Austin FC news, we have Hector Jimenez retiring. He hangs up his boots after a 14-year career, but he's not out the picture 100%. He accepts a position at the Chicago Fire as an assistant coach under Greg Berhalter, now Chicago Fire head coach, ex-U.S. men's national team coach. This, to me, in my opinion, Hector Jimenez, this is how you leave out the front door. The announcement was well received by the entire fan base. The comments was full with positivity, saying, Hector, good luck. You know, he had his time here with Austin FC. He had his impact, right? A lot of folks already thought he was going to be an assistant for Austin FC here. He takes a position in Chicago. 14 years as a pro player, 3-time MLS champ. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed about that. That's something to be proud of. Yeah. And I wish him the best 100%.
I mean, guys who, listen, man, if you can sustain a career for 14 years, you know, I mean, mad respect for the guys who are able to do that, who are able to stick around and keep a career going, to show the commitment, to be able to do that. And, you know, I mean, all signs point toward him. You when you join a staff like Greg Berhalter's and you stay, then like he wants to someday become a coach. Very well liked, it seemed, by teammates, by fans. So be curious to see his progression, how it all works for him, and you know, within the coaching ranks, and you know, I mean, let's be real. Like the league needs more, you know, coaches of color, Hispanic coaches, right? You need that diversity as well within the coaching ranks. So you know, to have those voices.
Agree.
So
his last goal for Austin was a banger. It was at home.
The Portland one?
Wasn't it? That was his last goal. Yeah, it was Portland.
The Portland one. Yeah. That's his first and last.
That was his only goal for Austin?
If I'm not mistaken,
he scored another goal.
Check that out.
No, he's definitely scored another goal.
I can't remember.
No, bro, that's his first and last. He's had assists, but I don't think he scored another one.
I'll look it up. But I just wanted to mention that it was a banger of a goal at home, a stadium. Bali actually has this
We
kit
have that jersey.
Do you?
We have that jersey.
I wouldn't say we. Bali has it.
It's in the We're Austin TV archives.
There you go.
It's in the We're Austin TV archives. We were
AKA Bali's closet.
Before the pod, we were talking about how some players have, you know, Bella, he lost his home in the fire, and we mentioned how, think about all the, you know, jerseys that he traded that he possibly lost in that fire. We don't know if he got them out or not, but just assuming that, you know, they were burnt off. So this is one of those jerseys for us. You know what I'm saying? Hector Jimenez, the jersey for, you know, the fact that he gave it to Bali.
Jersey.
They're going to take care of it.
You were right. He only scored that one.
Just one goal. So, yeah, I mean, pro's pro, right? I mean, 14 years in the league, man. I tip my cap to guys like that.
He wasn't paid to score, mate.
Yeah, I know.
He wasn't paid to score.
I didn't say he was.
Yeah.
I was just
You're trying to slide him.
No, I was trying to give him props on his goal for Austin. His banger of a goal.
And let's be honest,
I was there, brother.
And he was never like a star player or anything like stood out. And, you know, so, I mean, his career earnings are probably like pretty low. Yeah. But, I mean, you know, he stuck in there and he did it, and he got the most out of his talent, and he was probably a really good teammate. And he
got 3 rings out of that.
Yeah. And, like, so very cerebral player. I'll be really curious to see how he projects as a coach.
One thing that I asked the boys, I was like, y'all think he's ready for the attention that Greg Berhalter is going to have? Because he's going to have eyes on him. Berhalter,
big time,
as coach of
Chicago.
Of the Fire.
Which hasn't done anything in like 15
years.
Oh, yeah.
I hope Hector's ready for a little bit of that criticism that's coming as well.
I was a little surprised. I thought Josh might have ended up on the staff there, but really? I don't know. I think perhaps Josh Wolf will probably take this year off.
Yeah.
Maybe just kind of from the outside looking in and see, and then maybe look for another.
You think he
another
should?
job.
You think he should go as an assistant?
Well, I think with Greg, now I don't know how that relationship is with the
Yeah.
whole fallout, the Berhalter
Yeah.
Reina fallout, and what happened with that relationship, that friendship between
he
Josh
was
and
caught
Greg.
in the middle.
Yeah, he was certainly caught in the middle. It was drastically unfair to him. So I think if he wouldn't have gone to be an assistant anywhere else except for like maybe on Greg Berhalter's staff. But most likely Josh is probably going to sit out this year. Maybe towards the end of the year, if there's a firing and some club comes in from him, it's like, hey, we want you to be our next coach, he'd do it. But that'll be another interesting thing to watch in MLS this year, is like if Josh Wolf's name pops up for a vacancy, which surely it will.
Now,
I'm sure it will.
one of the last Austin FC topics that I want to talk about before we shift to the Club World Cup real quick is Danny Pereira. He got a call up to the Venezuela national team. They're going to play a friendly against the U.S. national team in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Chase Stadium, Inter Miami. We saw Mascherano and Poch. They had a photo up already, exchanged jerseys, all that's going on. But also another thing to add on that is that Telasco Segovia, pretty much Danny's competition at national team level, just signed for Inter Miami. So it brings Danny's competition to kind of level terms, because the conversation is always, oh, well, this player is in MLS and this player is in Portugal, or this player is in Spain, or this player is in Belgium.
Now they're both here.
Now they're both here on level kind of terms, and Danny has an opportunity to maybe take a step forward at the national team level. Now, how you've been following soccer for a very long time. Danny Pereira is just another player in the career of Arch Bell, but what does he have special about him? I mean, like there's clearly something about Danny Pereira, the way that he breaks the lines, the way that he's able to just move the ball up the field and then connect with either Driussi or whoever is running forward. But we've seen his magic like in the Leagues Cup. Owen Wolf also had magic there as well. But what's making Danny Pereira, shine above a lot of the other players? Because getting a call up to the Venezuela national team is also tough in its own.
It's hard, and Venezuela is a team that really badly wants to make World Cup 26.
100%.
They never made it to a World Cup, and they're definitely in the mix to get there. In regards to Danny, I mean, listen, he gets drafted, and he basically played as a 10 in college. I'll never forget interviewing Danny. I guess it was year 2 he was here, or maybe year 3. I forget which. And he's like, yeah, I never had really like slide tackled anybody.
I remember that. I remember that moment. What? And everybody was like, wait, then why are we using him there?
Yeah, why are you playing at the 6? But that just goes to show you like his ability to take concepts, to take new concepts, to learn, to do what is asked of him and needed of him. So I think I'm kind of surprised that he hasn't gone to Europe. I kind of thought there was a window there where he might have gone to Europe, because I think like some clubs were kicking the tires there on Danny, and it would have been nice to have seen maybe him go over there and test himself. But it's good for Austin that he's still here, and I think it's probably good that Danny, I don't want to say like is moves on from Josh, but he comes in as like the number 1 draft pick, and Josh, and so like there was always that relationship where Danny's like the young guy and Josh is having to mold him and to form him. And now he kind of gets like maybe Josh his lens of looking at Danny was always kind of through that, like, I got to like really shape this young player. And now maybe with Nico, there might be a little bit more of a trust level here, and like, hey, I've seen you. I've had teams go against you. I trust you more. I trust you to resolve things out on the field. I'm not going to have to coach you as much. You're a mature player now. You're a veteran. So I think Danny Pereira is going to actually be like one of the most important players for Austin FC in 2025. And I think wherever he plays, I would expect him to play a little bit more further up, which will be exciting as well. Kind of a little bit more back to his college days. But he's shown that he's able to learn and to take on new concepts, and maybe now with maybe there's a little bit more of a trust factor there with a new coach coming in, that he'll flourish.
And also, like the way this extension got set up, it's like, this is the year, if he does want to make that push for Europe, I think this is the year that you showcase.
Exactly.
It's a massive year, because not only that, but World Cup.
Rags. Yeah.
I mean, if Venezuela qualify for the World Cup, you're gonna
and also
you're gonna see some guys like go nuts to try to make those rosters.
And also, it would be the wrong thing to do for Danny to try himself at a new club the year that he needs to have the most consistent minutes, the most consistent performances. If he stays with Austin, which he did this year after all for 2025, he's gonna have his position. We know him. And you're just like you said, he could be one of the most important players for Austin going into the 2025 season, right? So he could risk going somewhere else and losing all of that. He could lose his starting position if he goes to another team. I mean, he could earn it, right? 100% he could earn it, but it's that risk. Yeah. And a lot of players have that in the back of their mind. Brandon Vázquez being one is I have to be healthy, I have to be consistent to make that roster.
It's a huge factor because, I mean, it's January 2025. World Cup starts June of 2026. Like, we'll know by the end of this year, we'll know all the teams that are in for World Cup 2026. So it is all of those guys. I mean, it is going to be huge to have continuity, to be getting minutes, to be performing. And you want to be changing clubs right before the World Cup is an enormous gamble.
Everything is set up for Danny to perform at his best.
Yes,
I've
absolutely.
always been in his corner. I've always been supporting Danny Pereira. I think all
the fan bases.
Everybody
loves him. I mean,
yeah.
number one draft pick.
Yeah.
You know, he's been here since day one.
He became such an important part of this team at a young age.
But if I could offer some constructive criticism, right? Because he's still a young player that is growing and he's not perfect. The maturity thing has always been a topic. Josh Wolf always called him out for that. He's always said that he's not the mature player. And we've seen for multiple seasons a yellow card problem.
Yes.
Where he's not able to control himself when causing these fouls. Yeah. Sometimes it's been unlucky. I remember one where Bobby Wood feels 4 fingertips on his back and flops, and he gets the card for Danny Pereira, and he's out of there. But there's also been moments where I've seen Danny Pereira, I'm like, come on, man, you got to be smarter there. And I think if he's able to control that, if he's able to put that into his pocket, we're going to see, like you said, one of the most important players for Austin FC in 2025.
And maybe he feels like a little bit more comfortable with Nico. We don't know that.
Yeah.
But I think there is something to be said for just getting a fresh start with a new coach. You know, I remember when Tuchel went to Chelsea. And Pulisic kind of ended up on the bench, and Pulisic was asked like, "Hey, you know, Tuchel was your coach at Dortmund, and he always kind of viewed you as that young American player, and like how he kind of had to be hard on you and to bench you, and like was always wary. And do you think there's an element of that?" I think it was Herc who actually asked him that question.
Great question.
And and Pulisic was like, "Yeah, there might be some of that," which was effectively saying yes, and on a different scale, that might be kind of like what it was like with Josh and Danny. Again, I'm just speculating, but that's just when that relationship, that's what comes to mind. And
but
so
Pulisic ended up being a big part in Chelsea winning the Champions League.
Win the Champions League, and now look what he's doing in Milan.
Exactly.
He took flight. So now perhaps Danny in this year in this situation where really he's like a team leader.
Yeah. And another thing. Well, I'd like to add another thing into the Danny conversation is if Driussi does in fact leave Austin FC, I feel like Danny's responsibility to create has shot up a little bit. You know, it's not expected to him to be that guy at the 10, but we're gonna need a little bit more from you. You're now older. You're not that super draft picked anymore. You know what I'm saying? That honeymoon, that very first
there needs
stage
to be more of that, protagonismo, as they would say in Spanish.
100%. I mean, Owen Wolf is also one of another very young, talented player. I mean, but I've heard he's very mature. I've heard he's a serious player. I've heard he's one of the most serious guys in the locker room.
I mean, look at his family.
You look at his dad. Yeah. I mean, Josh. When Josh was a player, like super, and like that's who Josh is. Like he's just super serious about the game. Owen in 2025 is going to be very, very interesting. Because now his dad's not around. Yep. I mean, the only situation that kind of reminds me of immediately is when Bob Bradley left as national team coach, and then Jurgen took over, and Michael Bradley was, still like a huge part of the national team, and Michael actually played very well under Jurgen. So
one of the best U.S. national team players I've seen.
So the hope, for Austin FC is that you really maybe with the fact that his father's not there anymore, you kind of see Owen really take a step forward.
Those are two players that I think everybody has always said that they want to see under a different coach, Owen Wolf and Danny Pereira.
Yeah.
To see if they can take the next step.
And this is it. This is it.
I agree 100%. Now, just real quick to finalize Austin FC, any expectations you have for them this 2025 season? I mean, you think playoffs is something that people can expect?
I think even no matter how the Driussi situation plays out, and like I said earlier, I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he'll wear an Austin FC jersey again, which is kind of weird to say. But I do think this team will be better, and I do think they will take steps forward. I don't think they'll finish 10th or whatever it's been the last 2 years.
I agree with that take.
I think this is a year where you see some vast improvement. I think the hunger is there, the motivation is there. You know, it's so important that they get off to a good start. I mean, think back to that 2022 season. They scored 10 goals in their first 2 games. They beat Cincinnati 5-0. They beat Miami, was it 5-1 or whatever it was. I mean, and that really that set them off for the rest of the year. It set the tone. So I think they have to get off to a really, really good start. But I do anticipate a much improved and a better Austin FC side. I'm not saying they're gonna go to the semifinals or MLS Cup or anything like that, but I think they're going to be much more competitive in the West and make the playoffs.
Even in that season, the Cecilio Dominguez situation derailed the team a little bit. I mean, it was wild.
I mean, because with Cecilio, they were playing great.
Yeah.
Cecilio, look,
Cecilio, Diego, Fagundes, Driussi, that nucleus was like...
And also, Cecilio didn't get a fair run because he was essentially had
to
play
in year one.
He had to play as the number 9. And
yeah.
You could tell that he wasn't. That's not where he wanted to be.
It's not his game.
So in the season where finally he gets a preseason, he gets the ability to play where he plays more comfortable.
Urruti came in for that second year,
and then just
scored goals. So you had you had a center forward that he could play off of, and so they were. And it was really good.
And if you look back at how that season ended. You could just think about throwing a informed Cecilio in there against that LAFC team.
Yeah,
things could be different, but hey,
Now it was funny. They ripped apart LAFC in that early August game. Was it 4-1?
Yeah, 4-1. Yeah.
And then after that, they fell off. Those
the
playoff games, they kind of papered over some cracks there at the end. Rigoni didn't produce, and so it was almost like a harbinger of what 2023 ended up being. We none of us could really see it at the moment because everybody's like, oh my God, they're in the Western Conference final, but it was those signs, those red flags were there in the final weeks of the season, weren't they?
I agree with that. That's something that Herc and I talked about too. He said, well, Joshua got to the Western Conference final. I was like, yeah, but there's more to it. There's more to it. Now, last thing, we can't leave the studio without talking about the Club World Cup that's coming up, especially when we have a guy like Archibald here in the studio. I mean, currently works for FIFA. Right?
FIFA, yeah.
I mean, come on. We got to talk about the Club World Cup.
Got to talk about the FIFA Club World Cup.
The FIFA Club World Cup.
The FIFA Club World Cup.
Now, this is gonna be the biggest party of
biggest club.
It's gonna be amazing.
To be honest, I'm gonna say right off the bat, hot take. I think this is gonna become the biggest club accomplishment trophy. I think it's gonna surpass the Champions League.
Whoa!
I wouldn't say now.
Wow,
that's a hot. I
wouldn't say now. I wouldn't say now because obviously this is the first version of this, right? But I think that it could, and I think that it will become one day the biggest club trophy.
Well, they're trying to market it that way.
Yes,
I'll say that.
I'm all falling for it.
But I mean, if we're going through the groups, I mean, this has the potential of having some great soccer.
I mean, the matchup, I know some people were downplaying it, oh, the players are going to be tired, and then the groups came out, and you're like, oh man, there's going to be some really cool matchups that are coming. I can't wait to see this team play against this team. So
is it fair to say that Group B with PSG, Atleti, Botafogo, Seattle is the group of death?
So, but this was great. Maybe an hour after the draw happened, the Seattle Sounders, let me just say, are class organization, especially their comms team.
They've been doing it right for a while.
Unbelievable. And so they got me on the phone with Brian Schmetzer. And I asked Brian, I'm like, what do you think about the group? And he just said, what, you mean the group of death? And he
that's crazy.
Brian, he's got a really good sense of humor. But yeah, dude, this is tough. Yeah. So PSG goes without saying. Atletico Madrid
goes without saying.
I mean, Spanish heavyweights, Simeone. I mean,
Botafogo.
And then Botafogo, who won the Copa Libertadores basically with 10 men.
Yeah.
Who won the final with 10 men. And the Intercontinental Cup in Qatar, where I was at in December, really didn't do that. I mean, all credit to Pachuca for beating them, and it was cool to see Pachuca win that game. Botafogo were exhausted going to that game, watching them come off the bus. I mean, I'm like, these guys, they haven't slept. They were dead on their feet. I think Botafogo in this tournament, and let's also keep in mind, Botafogo's owner is an American.
Yeah, was it John Texter? Yeah,
John Texter. So you better believe he's going to make sure that team is ready to play that tournament.
Yeah.
And then you got Seattle on top of all that, which is, consistently one of the best teams in MLS.
Yeah.
So it is that's a monster group.
Criticism for Seattle, Arch, and I don't know if this is right to say or not, but I don't think that they're preparing themselves right for this Club World Cup. And we're seeing a lot of these teams in these groups signing massive players. James, Leon. We talked about Driussi going to River Plate for that reason. Rigoni to Leon. I mean, there's players that are making moves everywhere to play in this tournament. And Seattle, they just, they
got
made
Jesus Ferreira. They re-signed Rosnak.
They're doing it the Seattle way.
This is totally the Seattle way.
They made Jordan
they're doing
Morris
it the Seattle way.
They made Jordan Morris a DP.
They need to. If
You think they know they're gonna lose?
they're gonna compete, they're gonna compete, bro. They're gonna.
and they're going to be at home, right? A lot of these games for them are going to be at home, so they'll be competitive.
Also, be real, H. Like Rivers, the Leons, they're making signings not for the pitch, but for the to bring eyes, to bring attention. Like,
I'd argue both.
And Seattle
I'd argue both.
they'll be in
Rigoni
mid-season
and
form.
James to Leon. Come on.
They'll be in mid. I don't think Seattle. I mean, if Seattle get out of this group, I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be an amazing accomplishment.
It'd be like USA in the World Cup when they got out of the group with Germany, Ghana, and Portugal.
Yeah. But if they'll be competitive. They'll be competitive in these games for sure. I think especially
Plus
like playing at home.
PSG. I mean, yeah, they're a massive name, but I don't know. I mean,
Now,
they're not.
Group E is another one that I love. So you're talking River, Monterrey, Inter. Like, oof.
That's another one.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too familiar with this club.
Urawa Red Diamonds from Japan.
Oh.
Yeah. And like, dude, those Asian teams, man, like in past Club World Cups, those Asian teams are always competitive.
Yeah, they've knocked out Chivas a couple times.
Yeah, especially those Japanese teams, right?
We get knocked out every time.
Trying to avoid Monterrey for them in Chelsea.
Yes, yeah, because of the
That's
ex-coach
right.
thing. The
That's
ex-coach.
right.
That's also drama going into that, which is very interesting. I mean, you also have Group H, the fairy tale Pachuca.
Pachuca Real Madrid rematch. FC Salzburg, which also known as Red Bull Salzburg, and I think that team is
That's
Al-Hilal?
that's Neymar's team, right?
That's
yeah.
Mitrovic is there. Neymar's there.
Yeah.
Isn't that Al Hilal?
Al-Hilal.
Al-Hilal, right.
Yeah, Al Hilal. That's
Yo,
gonna be a massive group.
the thing that I'm most curious about watching in this Club World Cup, and this has been the case now for like the last 5 years, is that in South America the Brazilian teams have been the best. They've been the ones who've really flexed their muscles. So Palmeiras, Flamengo, and Fluminense. Those are the ones I want to see when they go up against some of these European clubs.
And they are gonna.
And they are so we have Fluminense against Dortmund in Group F, and Group D, Flamengo against Chelsea, who I think they played each other in the 20.
They play Palmeiras.
Palmeiras.
It was Palmeiras, okay.
Palmeiras, yeah.
And then Palmeiras in Group A, they play Messi in Miami, and then Porto. So Porto obviously like a respected club and everything, and they qualified. But Palmeiras are good, and Al-Ahly's in that group too.
Which they're as well.
Which I don't know if you watched the Pachuca Al-Ahly game, and they didn't score, but their center striker Wissam Abu Ali, I really liked a lot.
That's the thing about this competition is that like you're looking at clubs from countries where you were like, oh, are they good? Japan. The thing about this competition is not only are they from countries that you don't recognize globally as far as being a good
As
league,
football powers,
but they're the best in that region. That's why they're in this competition.
Yeah.
And you're going to
win.
see players, you're going to be like, oh, that guy's really
Yeah.
good.
You have to be in this competition, and they've laid out, and you could question Miami being in there. I get it, but you have to be you have to win the best, the Champions League in that region to even be getting looked at.
Yeah.
So these are top of the top. That's why I'm all in on this competition. I am
very excited.
having some weird like.
Dude,
I love it. I love it.
excited.
I love it.
No,
I love it.
it's all like Pachuca eliminated Al-Ahly in penalties, but dude, that stadium, it was 50,000 people. They were all Al-Ahly. Like they have a huge fan base. So that'll be fascinating. Monterrey, Leon, Pachuca. I'll be curious to see how Leon do, especially if they bring in they brought in Rigoni. If they bring in James.
What sucks or what's I don't know how you could say, like, I don't know, the fact that look, Monterrey, Leon they beat LAFC, they deserve to be in. I get it, Monterrey, Pachuca.
You want a Club America there?
America
yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean, dude. I know what you mean. Yes.
They have to be
because
in this
if they'd been
competition.
in, they would have thrown the bag at players, man.
They are the biggest draw in Mexico. You could even argue biggest draw in all of this side of this world, the hemisphere.
I'm not gonna lie.
America needs to be in there.
Me as a Chivas fan, I wanted America in this Club World Cup.
Dude. I like Club America, and this would have been.
It had to be,
would
and
have
then
been really good.
Look, people are gonna listen to this and be like, we had to be. Who's in it? Pachuca. They beat us.
Yeah.
They
merit based. Merit based. You have to qualify.
Exactly. So
Pachuca,
I get it, but come on.
I know. And Pachuca qualified. And listen, Pachuca did great in that Intercontinental Cup. They were a joy to cover. And I liked watching them. Granted against an exhausted Botafogo team, and they survived Al-Ali. They were never going to beat Real Madrid.
America deserves the same ticket Miami got.
I love all the memes that came out of the Pachuca players having to ask permission from their parents to go play Real Madrid because it's like a joke where Pachuca has nothing but 15-year-olds
or
16-year-olds.
All these like kids.
Three-digit numbers in the back of the kids.
But I love watching like Elias Montiel, 19 years old, and there he is, like he's going up against Real Madrid. It's like, that's great. So I think what's so cool about this tournament is we're going to learn about so many new players. There's going to be some clubs that we don't expect to like make a deep run. Maybe one of the African teams, one of the Asian teams. It would just be incredible to see that. So, and what a great showcase for some of these players to get noticed by whether it's an MLS club, a Mexican club, a European club, and what's going to be another thing I'm intrigued by is your Manchester Cities, your Bayern Munichs, your PSGs of the world. They're going to get here. And it's going to be in June, and it's the end of their season, and they're going to be exhausted, and how much motivation is going to be there for them to perform well, and like how much are they going to rotate their squads, and is it going to be the type of thing like, well, we're going to rotate and kind of treat this like early round domestic cup squads, and then once we get to knockouts, maybe we then go A-team.
You take that mentality versus a motivated
hungry, like Flamengo
Brazilian
or like
team,
a Japanese team, you'll get cooked.
Come on,
you'll get cooked.
I mean, that's the thing, and like that's where I was going. We were making that point about like the importance of these tournaments for like South American clubs. Man, I mean, they are. This means everything to them.
Even the previous.
They do that because it's gonna help to the United States work in the logistics, security.
Yeah.
Sure,
of
course.
And the next year you have the work. So now you're gonna know what's going on.
For the
And like the chaos that we saw in the Copa America, you're not going to be seeing it because the security is going to be run by FIFA. And I'm not just saying that because I work for FIFA. Like, no, FIFA like know how to run secure events as opposed to maybe Conmebol, which was like a little bit more YOLO security.
And also, you learned your lesson on that. That's like that can't happen again.
No,
they were going through the air vents.
Yeah,
they were going through.
So
they were breaking down.
You will have security
walls.
perimeter set up outside all of these stadiums, and like they will have everything in place. But yes, it is a great dry run, a great rehearsal for World Cup 26. Which
Even the previous iteration of this competition, they were taking it seriously.
Just do it like Super Bowl. I mean, I've never heard any issues in a college football major championship game, a Super Bowl.
Well, supposedly they were saying that they were caught off guard. They were caught off guard
because I think people going to Super Bowl, if they don't have a ticket, they're not going to try to sneak in. I mean, maybe like 10 people do max.
No, not
right?
this.
There's always like one guy who likes to go.
There's always one YouTube video that comes out the next day.
Like, I snuck into the Super Bowl. But normally, like, you're not going to have like fans of the Chiefs aren't going to be trying to sneak into the Super Bowl like thousands of Colombians.
That's true.
Fans would buy a plane ticket and a hotel before they even think about buying a game ticket. Like that's just
we went to LA and bought our tickets the morning of the first ever game, Austin FC.
We went to
the first Austin FC game in history in LA, 2021. We had everything. The
Hotel.
morning of the game, we bought our tickets.
You bought your tickets?
And then that's the same thing we did with when the U.S. played Bolivia.
Oh yeah. So there you go. There you go.
Yeah. No, it's just the sport is just compared.
One of the last things I want to add is the prize money, right? I mean, Arch better than anybody can tell us exactly what's going into this competition when we're talking about prize money. I mean, how much is everybody? What is the winner going to take?
Let's see here. Like, I mean, you're good to bring up these numbers because I don't have them off the top of my head.
We have here.
The total purse is 2.5 billion euro, which is obviously significant. And with 2 billion distributed among the 32 teams that booked their plane, and then qualification brings about 50 million euro. Results-based bonuses, and the winner will receive around 100 million euro. Now, like for a club like Auckland City,
Oh my God.
Oceania winner, that's an amateur club. Like, this is just an enormous amount of money for them. And for a lot of these, other clubs, like, it's like the money that they can use
The
from
money
this
factor
is just huge. And so you better believe that's an incentive as well.
This kind of reminds me of the Leagues Cup that we've been seeing, because there was bonuses as you won games.
As you progressed,
so
sure.
players wanted to win. I mean,
That's why you saw teams like
with,
Mazatlan make it far, and
exactly,
Yeah.
Right. Guys, I don't want to bring out exactly, contracts. I don't want to bring them out and saying, oh, you're not making too much. But players in Austin FC that aren't on those Driussi type contracts. I'm talking
that's
the
huge.
Beatles, the Hindsights, the Hedges. I mean, they wanted to win this prize money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And 100 million knocking on the door. I mean, the owners got to be telling their players, guys, we need this. Texter,
You better believe John Texter
John
is like,
Texter,
we're doing this, guys.
I agree. Well, I mean, guys, is there anything else we can add to the pod? I mean, I know there's multiple things to talk about, but
it's a massive one.
this is a great one. But anything else you want to add?
No. I mean, thanks for coming by and doing this with us, Arch. And I'm excited for the Club World Cup. I'm excited for this new season of Austin FC as well.
Same, brother.
Yeah, I just if I could just take a moment here and just express my gratitude to y'all, number one, for inviting me, but just number two, what you do for all the Austin soccer fans out there. I think it's awesome. I love the videos. I mean, whether it's it's Bali, saying F pluckers, or whatever, you're talking to the fans and you're getting those raw emotions, and I love that, and you're like, it's really the only time that perhaps Austin FC is like getting like a real clear picture of what their fans really want and their expectations. And
that's why sometimes we're like, are they listening to? Of course.
Of course they're listening. And that pressure needs to be there always. Like, these are teams, man. They got to perform. Like, fans are spending a lot of money on tickets, on, jerseys, on all these things. And so you better believe the fans are important, and their opinion of the team is important. And if they're upset with the coach, they have every single right to do it. Now, you don't never to cross the line and make it personal or anything like that. But if they're upset with how the club is being run or how things are going or how the team is performing, then yes, and you guys really provide a platform for that. And I think that's something, it's something I know I appreciate from my perspective, kind of a little bit on the outside looking in. So it's it's good to see that you guys have given a voice to the fans right outside the Zebra Gate, without fail after every match. So that's really cool to see. So congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, Arch. I appreciate it, especially coming from somebody like you that has been in the game for so long, the levels that you've been able to reach in your
Thank you. Yeah.
In your life, career also. I mean, it just means a lot.
I appreciate
that.
And
I know that you mean it, because you've told me this before off camera too. It's not just for the camera. You've told me this before.
No, it's true. I mean, it's and the bottom line is it's great entertainment. And what's cool also is when you get the viewpoints of other fans too. Like, you get the opposing fans in there too, which I like. I'll never forget when you had you had some Haitians.
Violet.
The Haitian fans after the Champions League. Like, that was really cool. So I appreciate that. I dig that.
They were happy. I remember that. They were
that was
so
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the podcast. The Archbell, thank you for coming by, having us.
Guys.
Appreciate you. Brian, thank you for producing. Ozzy, live audience. We'll be back with more. Have a good night. Have a good day. And we'll see you soon, Austin fans. Ciao.